Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the DYS Shark Mako, and this is another one of those ready-to-fly packages that come with its own transmitter, and this is where this custom transmitter here. I'll go over this in a little more detail in a second. If you're familiar with the previous video I did on the Mantis 85, that was also a micro drone like this, but without prop guards, and it did come with a transmitter, FlySky i6 radio. It also come with a battery like this one does, and also that one didn't come with a charger, but this one comes with a charger. So if you want to check out the unboxing for the Mako, go ahead and look at the card in the corner here for the haul video, and you'll see that what the wall charger and the battery charger looks like. But that's all that else comes with it. There's also some spare props as well, but this is everything else that comes with it. It does only come with one battery. It's a 600 milliamp hour 3S LiPo, and comes with an XT30 connector. So if you remember the previous generation of this DYS ready to fly products here, there was something called the ELF that came out on my channel about a year ago. That came with also its own transmitter, but wasn't as good as this one. This one was actually pretty good. There was a lot of issues with that one. The props were kind of too small. It was a little heavy for the motors, and it was only 2S, although some people were flying it on 3S on the same props. This one doesn't come with a proprietary battery like the ELF did. The ELF came with a battery that had a special kind of balance plug or something. So you had to use the batteries that came with it, or you had to buy extras from DYS. They didn't have a standard connector, and that was a big complaint from a lot of people. But they fixed that here. You have a standard connector here, so you should be able to use your own 3S LiPos of similar size. It just goes in the bottom here. There's a Velcro strap and a little sticky pad. Although the sticky pad here isn't really that sticky. And then of course you got your XT30 here to plug it in. So just taking a look at the drone itself here. It's a 2-inch micro drone here. It's got 1104 5400 kV motors, and pretty low kV I think for a 2-inch setup, even though it's on 3S. A lot of these sort of style 2-inch drones with the prop guards come with a higher kV motor. I'm usually seeing them around 6,000 to 7,500 kV. I think I've seen a couple around 7,000 kV, even on 3S. It's a little low kV, so that's why you have to go with 3S on this. I think you go maybe like a 8,000 kV on 2S perhaps if you want to go lighter battery. But that's what they went with here. It's adequate power. It's not by any means like a tremendous amount of power. And this is a pretty hefty micro drone here for what you get. I think it has to do with the prop guards and the frame and just everything that goes into this. Now, I didn't really test the sort of indestructibility of this. I didn't really crash into anything. I think I crashed into a tree and recovered, but it's hard to say whether or not these prop guards will hold up that well in a crash. They seem fairly durable. They're not super rigid. They do flex a little bit, so I think that if it hits something that it will give, but I didn't smash it into concrete or straight into a tree, so I'm not sure how this would compare to, say, the ET100 or the ones from the ET series from King Kong. With those hoops are a lot more flexible, and supposedly those are indestructible. This, I'm thinking, is probably a little bit more brittle, so you might have to look into replacement parts for this, but it looks like you just have a few screws here that hold the prop guard on. You could probably find replacement parts and replace those if you want a little bit down the road. The props themselves are an unusual kind of shape here. They kind of look like the Gemfan 2035s. I believe it's a 2035 prop, but the tips are bent up. I don't know if it comes on camera or not, but they have a very strange shape, and it's a pretty noisy prop. I think it has to do with the tip and the prop guard, so you'll see that in the line of sight footage. It's kind of noisy. Not sure. I've never seen this prop before, so I'm not sure about efficiency or anything like that. But it seemed like an okay prop, not like an amazing prop or anything like that. Now, the FPV system on this is actually kind of interesting. You got your standard, micro CMOS camera here. I think it's like 700 TV lines, something like 600 TV lines, something like that. It's on a little mount here that you can adjust the tilt on by pressing this little lever here. So basically, it has a pretty flat position here. It's probably like 10 degrees, and then if you if you flip this lever up, it'll click, and then you get a little bit more, maybe about 25 degrees at the most. So there's two angles. It's adjustable for the camera. The video transmitter is really interesting. I think there's a button here somewhere. I'm not 100% sure, but it's not documented anywhere in the manual as to how to change it via a button. It has smart audio built into the video transmitter. So what I would recommend doing is getting your goggles out, tuning to the frequency. I think the default frequency is the A1 channel, which is going to be 5865. So if you tune to that, then you get the video, and then you can use your transmitter to go in and change your video transmitter frequency. So I'll actually, when I fire this up, I'll demonstrate that really quick so you guys can see that. So you can change the channel that you want, but it's kind of nice that it has the smart audio feature. You can just do that with your transmitter to change whatever channel you want, and also it's power switchable between 25 and 200 milliwatts, so that's also a good thing. Now, the flight controller on here does come with a Betaflight OSD, obviously, because that's the only way you can use the smart audio feature to change your VTX channels. So that's kind of nice. It has an OSD feature built in. It also comes with a tune from the factory, so there's no tuning involved. It came with a set of rates and PIDs already built in, and that's what I flew it with. I thought the rates were a little high, but it was nothing that I couldn't get used to, and I was able to get used to even with flying with this sort of toy grade transmitter here, although it's not really that toy grade. I'll talk about that in a second here. But yeah, it was nothing that I couldn't get used to. I think that if you just wanted to charge it up and go and fly it, I think it's definitely doable. I didn't have any issues with doing that. Now, I did change a couple of things in the OSD. I didn't like the, what do you call it, the little lines and stuff, the horizontal bars or whatever. I don't know what those call it. The things that clutter on the screen. I just got rid of all that stuff, and then I left the stuff on the bottom. I just don't like clutter on my FPV screen when I'm flying. I find it distracting. So that was the only thing I changed. For everything else, I just left it as it came from the factory. Okay, so taking a look at the transmitter, it's a pretty nice transmitter. It just charges via the USB port in the down in the bottom, and you can just plug into your computer or some sort of a phone charger. This one comes as a mode 1. I believe it's possible to switch it to a mode 2, like the one that came with the ELF. You obviously have to open it up and then switch the settings in the firmware or the software. It does come with a sort of a smaller version of OpenTX. I don't know exactly which version. And then you have the switches on the top here. Now the manual has these mislabeled. I think it has B and C switched in the manual. But basically, the switch A here, there's a slider, and there's two positions. So on the left, basically when it's on the left, it's disarmed, and the right here, it's armed. And then you have this switch here. There's a 3-position switch. So there's a middle position here. And when it's all the way to the left, it's in stability mode or angle mode. The middle mode is horizon mode, and the switch all the way to the right is acro mode. And then you have these little sort of buttons here that are like momentary switches, and they'll toggle back and forth between a low PWM value and a high PWM value. The D switch here just turns on and off the buzzer, so to activate the buzzer, you press it, it'll turn on, press it again, turn it off, and then this B switch here will turn on and off the OSD elements on the screen if you don't want those to be on the screen when you're flying. This does have a flip up here for some sort of like a screen or a phone, and I believe it'll hold up to a 5-inch monitor. It goes up pretty high, so that's kind of nice if you tend to fly with a monitor. To turn it on, you have to short press the button and then long press the button. So short press it, the light turns red, then long press it for 3 seconds, and then wait for it to turn on. You hear a beep, and it'll turn on. You can see here, it's a pretty, low-grade LCD screen here. It has your battery voltage for the transmitter. And I think this is RSSI from the drone, but it's currently turned off. But press here this little joystick here to bring up the menu, and this is basically just a joystick. This is not a whole lot that's interesting here. You got your channel monitor. This button here is the back button. You can reverse your channels, change your sub-trim, channel map, dual race and expo mixing. There's also a setup. You can only bind to one model at a time. There's no multiple models available, so you can set up here. and this is where you do the binding. But since it's already pre-bound to the drone, you don't have to do anything like that. But if you wanted to get this and bind it to something else and fly it, then you have to rebind it, obviously. It does use the FreeSky protocol, and it binds only to D8 receivers. Okay, we'll go ahead and I just plugged it in, and now we can see here we got a reading for the receiver. And I think that is the voltage of the battery. And then this percentage here I think is for the throttle. I think so I'm raising the throttle. It changes the value. Now, if you want to arm it, you probably want to arm it in stability mode. And when you do that, you get a beep from the drone, and the props don't spin. You have to give it throttle to spin it. But if you arm it in in acro mode, then the props will spin up when you arm it. So when you're in acro mode, it has air mode automatically turned on. And as I mentioned before, press this button here to turn the beeper on, and then turn that off. And then this button here turns on off the OSD. So overall, I thought this transmitter was pretty interesting. It's a lot better than the white one that came with the ELF. That one had a lot of deadband in the center, so you would have to move the stick quite a bit before it would start doing anything. And this particular transmitter here, this is called the Mystery Q. It's kind of got a funny name. It doesn't have as much deadband. You can actually have movement, very small movements in the center of the stick, and those are registered on the drone. So I thought that was pretty good. I think this is actually even better than that tiny TX or the TX X8 transmitter from LDARC or King Kong that I reviewed a few weeks back. That one had not as much deadband as the old ELF one, but a little bit more than that one, and less than, or a little bit more than this one here. So it's kind of in between. So if you're looking at sort of these RTF transmitters, the DYS ELF was the one that came with the ELF was probably the lowest one, and then the one that came from King Kong is probably a little bit better, and then this one is probably the best of the three. And you'll see that in the flight demo. I had no issues with flying. The only thing I didn't like was the fact that the sticks were kind of short, and it doesn't look like that they're upgradable. Although it's possible you might be able to screw something into this little hole here. Not 100% sure. If there was some way to extend this, that would be kind of nice. I didn't really spend any time trying to take this off and put something else on there. Someone else could probably figure that out, but that was the only thing that I didn't like, was the fact that the sticks were kind of short. But I felt like I had full control of the Shark, no problem flying it with this transmitter. So definitely interested in finding out more information about this one. Hopefully it'll come out by itself at a fairly reasonable price, like $25-30. That would be a pretty good price for something like this if you're just looking for, like, a backup transmitter or something like that, just to fly around for fun at the park without your full gear. If you don't want to bring all your lug all your gear around, and it's kind of nice you can fly with a monitor or something like that with this little monitor stand. So that's all pretty good. Now, in terms of the range of this, it's advertised for 500 meters. Although there's no external antennas on here. I don't know anything what the internals are. If it's got a diversity antenna or whatever. I would imagine it's 500 meters if there's straight line of sight, no obstructions at all, no other RF interference, which is sort of like best case scenario. So realistically, I would say I wouldn't probably go more than 200 meters with this one, just because it is sort of a mystery as to what the actual range of this is. But I had no issues with fail-safes at the park where I normally fly at. So that's all for something like this. That's all I really care about, is if I can fly reasonably far away, 50 meters, 100 meters, and not have any issues with fail-safes, then this is fine for me. Okay, so going back to the drone again, we're just going to weigh it here without the battery. And as I mentioned, it's a little bit on the heavy side. Comes in at 95 grams, so that's without the battery. And if you throw on the battery with it, put this all together, we're coming in at 141.3 grams. So yeah, it's on the heavy side for a 2-inch micro, even though it is flying 3S. So the performance isn't going to be like spectacularly good, but it was a decent speed, decent acrobatic capability. But for here without the battery, coming in at 95 grams, I have 3-inch micros that weigh less than this. So you can imagine the kind of power you can get on a 3-inch micro on a bigger motor weighing less than this. The power difference obviously is going to be quite noticeable, but for someone that's just starting out, this is going to be plenty of power. I think that's what they're targeting, is a beginner that doesn't have a transmitter, and yeah, this will be plenty of power for someone like that starting out. Anyway, go ahead and I'll show you the line of sight footage and some FPV footage, and we'll go ahead and take you out to the field, and we'll take a look at that footage now. Okay, we'll do a little line of sight first, see how this feels with the Mr. Q controller. I have no idea how this is going to go. These sticks are really short, but we'll see how it feels. So motor stop is on. Looks like I'm in stability mode. Actually, the controller feels pretty nice, smooth. Oh, the yaw rate is huge on this. Might have to adjust that. It's got pretty good power. All right, let's flip this into acro mode. The rate is a little something I'm not really used to, but I think I can get used to it. Air mode is on. It's not bad. All right, let's see what the punch out looks like. We got the, see that yaw twitch there? The eye gain is too low. Probably need to adjust that, but it does seem to have a decent tune on it. Punch out isn't all that great for 3S, but that's a 2-inch prop on a 5400 kV motor. Let's put it back into stability mode here. Some funnels. The yaw rate's so crazy. Look at that, those funnels are pretty crazy. It's kind of noisy. I think kind of expected for something this size. Those crazy funnels. It's decent speed. This controller is very controllable. The tune is okay, line of sight. I'll have to see what it looks like FPV. And it looks like I'm already starting to run out of battery, a little bit sagging. Get a little bit of wind's kicking up now. Let's bring this in close. No beeper yet, so the voltage hasn't sagged totally. You guys a look at this. Overall, I think this controller is much better than the one that came with the ELF. Can't complain too much about it. Kind of, maybe I'm almost interested in seeing how much it is by itself. If it's like a $25 controller, that might be not bad. But we'll have to see. I don't think it's come out yet. Very, very controllable. I can be very precise, so let's see when I fly FPV how precise I can be. I think I'll go over there to under the gazebo over there and sit down and fly around, do some proximity with this. We'll do some FPV over there. Okay, so this is the first time I'm flying this FPV, and I am trying to get used to both the tune, the factory tune from DYS, and also the sort of the quirkiness of this controller. And you'll see, it doesn't take me very long to get comfortable. I get comfortable with this pretty quickly, so that tells me that the tune is pretty good and the controller is pretty good. You know, looks like someone lost an RC airplane or something, a kite maybe, in a tree. Anyway, yeah, it didn't take me very long to fly around here and quickly get used to the speed here. As you can see here, I didn't quite get, I'm not quite used to it yet. I ran to the tree, but I was able to recover. Because of the weight of the drone, it does carry its momentum into the turns a lot more, and because it doesn't have as much power, it's not as easy to make quick direction changes like I do on a lot of my other micro drones. So that's something to keep in mind if you guys are expert flyers. Obviously this is probably not going to be something that you're going to like that much, but I think for someone that's starting out, this is not too bad. It's just that, you know, you're dealing with carrying a lot of extra weight into turns. That's something that everyone should learn how to do, and I just quickly figured that, oh, this thing needs a little bit, I need to think about my turns a little bit sooner, or be a little more on the sticks as I'm making my turns because of the extra weight. And that's really the only major difference here. Other than that, I like the tune, and I do like the controller. I think the controller is actually pretty good. And what I'm going to do is actually probably bind that controller up to one of my other like bigger drones and faster ones. I want to see how usable this controller is on a faster micro drone, and you know, as something like a backup I can keep in the car, something like that, if I just want to have something available without having to carry all my regular gear around. But you can see I'm quickly getting used to the turns here and get close to the trees, no problem, and fly pretty fast. So I think overall I'm pretty happy with the setup here, the tune, the controller, everything seems to be working pretty well. I think the price is a little bit on the high side. I believe it was around $200. I think you can use the RC18 off coupon to get maybe like 13% off of that price, but it's still quite a bit more than the Mantis 85. That one came in around $130 for the drone plus the transmitter and battery, although that one didn't come with a charger. This one came with a charger. And this one comes with pop guards and all that, so it's a little bit probably going to be a little bit more durable than the Mantis 85, so that's also something to consider. But you can see here I'm quickly getting accustomed to this and flying around quite aggressively without any issues. I feel totally comfortable flying this on pretty much new gear, new tune, so it does tell you that this is a pretty good tune for the factory. Anyway guys, I'm coming to the end of this flight and video. I think that I can recommend this as a product for someone just starting out. I think that it would make a pretty good first drone, and obviously you could do some further tuning with it and perhaps some additional customization, etc. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but in any event, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.